Watchers, welcome back to the channel. Today I am reviewing, yes, a CASIO G-Shock. I can't remember when was the last time I did one of this. Very happy to come back to it. It's something that I do love, you know, this subline, and I was very glad to hear just a while back that GearBest, this watch courtesy of GearBest, they've started listing CASIO G-Shocks, and you know that's really great because it's hard to sometimes find collaborations that will send you or lend you, you know, big brands, including CASIO G-Shocks. So I'm glad to see that they have started listing some models, not a huge range, but they have started listing some models. So you know this is a typical G-Shock tin here. You can see the characteristic G-Shock, water resistant 20 bar with shock resistance and established in 1983. Okay, nothing more than that, typical CASIO hexagonal tin that you get these days. And let's just show you the watch. So guys, this is the CASIO G-Shock GA-710. So the base model was this GA-700. This is the 710 model. I believe it's kind of the same module, if not almost identical. So this model GB-1A is the suffix, and that kind of denotes the color variation, dial, case, and band color variation. This is typically what they talk about. Okay, so the MSRP of this is 150 USD. Typically, you'll be able to find it on sale just under 100 USD. So all links to products are down below, as well as discount codes if I have any. The GA 700/710 models, they kind of have this thing about, I think it's a new patented technology, but correct me if I'm wrong. So they talk about an original resin molding technology that, you know, gives you the hands, the indices and the dial that kind of have this luster that is like metal. So you know, based on that, they're telling me that all these indices and the dial and the hands are actually a resin mold, but they do definitely have a metal, a kind of steel look, you know, and in this case, kind of gold PVD type of steel. So that's kind of cool, you know, that they haven't quite have anything that lusters like that that's not metal. So good on them for developing this. So the case here is actually a 46mm resin case, of course. And when I say 46, it's kind of taking that, you know, that's probably the actual body of the case there. If you measure it just at horizontal, right out to the maximal diameter horizontally there, that's 53mm. The thickness is 18.5 millimeters thick, so you know, fairly typical for a G-Shock of this size. And the lug to lug, if you care, you know, right there to there is 56 millimeters. That's that distance there. If you want to talk about the face height, say if you just take the flange out to the indices there, right between my thumbs, that's actually 37 millimeters. That's the diameter of the actual watch face there. Overall weight in this case is 70 grams. So, you know, for a G-Shock of this size, this is fairly typical. You know, previous G-Shocks I've had around this size, they weigh around the same. Okay, that's typical because it's resin. There's not much steel in here except for the case back and some of the internal components here. The construction, okay, as I mentioned, it's a steel case back with a G-Shock and module number, you know, model number and whatnot, the typical stuff they put around the back there. So it's actually a screw secured stainless steel case back, you know, not screw down case back, not in these models. But, you know, overall with the G-Shock construction, they do give you 200-meter water resistance. On top of the dial is, in this case, mineral glass. It's not acrylic, definitely not sapphire. It is actually mineral glass. And just to show you, this watch comes with a white LED with afterglow. So, you know, hopefully that's quite clear there. You can see that, right? It doesn't have a backlight. So it's just that light that comes on at the bottom there. And it's activated by the big front button, which is also in gold PVD there. Okay, so that's really the case description. And as I do like to describe the case and then get on to the movement. So the movement in here is analog digital negative display, right? You can obviously see it's a negative display. Quartz multifunction module 5522. This is what this G-Shock module is. So let's just go through the functions now. So this is the time display, and there's not too much you can do here. So, you know, you can change it to the date, Wednesday, you know, you can see it there, right? And then just the basic time display there in digital form. Of course, the analog hands are what I'm going to use for telling the time. And then that's kind of like a counter rectangle there. So in this case, it's just counting across the seconds. As the seconds counts across, those little slots there tick. That's really what that is. Okay, and this one, I'll show you now. It does have a quick start stopwatch. So if I press this button, it actually goes into stopwatch mode and it starts it. So that's a feature that not a lot of G-Shock have. The range band does have it. So it's nice to see this one. You know, that's something that people might find useful. If you want to go straight into timing, you can just press that button. Okay, and let's just start from the top again to show you the functions here. Okay, so it has a timer, as many G-Shocks do. So this is a 60-minute 1/10 second countdown timer. So if I start it, you can see it's 1/10 of a second counting down. Set at 10 minutes now, right? Nothing more than that. That's all that is. Okay. World time next. So it has, as with a lot of their models, it has 31 time zones across 48 cities plus UTC. So I usually leave this at UTC, but you can cycle through, you know, Lisbon, London, what have you, you know, all 48 cities, Rome, Berlin, you know, all the way to, you know, what we have here, Kabul, Kinshasa, Delhi, you know, and then, you know, the Asian cities are Singapore, Hong Kong, Beijing, Seoul, you know, what have you. You know, all 48 cities that are typically found are in here. It does have a home city swap function. So, for example, I've got here in Tokyo, if I hold this button down, you see it starts to say hold there, and if you let go, it will actually swap the home city with your time. Right? That's a kind of a fancy or convenient way that you can quickly set your time if you're traveling. Right, so that's world time. It does have 5 daily alarms, and just to show you how it sounds like. Okay, nothing more than the typical G-Shock alarm, right? So 5 daily alarms, you can see, and there's a 5th snooze and then time signal function there. Okay, typical stuff that you will have been familiar with if you own G-Shocks. The time signal function, so just to show you again, snooze alarm, and then this is time signal. This means that if you turn that on, and the way you do it would be pressing that. Okay. That would mean that every hour it makes a beep. I prefer not to have that, but some people find that handy. Okay, next, stopwatch. So you can see it's already counting, and you can see the seconds, right? Counting there is blinking, and you can see that target, hopefully, at the top left corner of the negative display at the bottom there, you can see that TGT, it's actually blinking. That's because this stopwatch also has a target time. So you can set a target time, say 10 minutes, and if it reaches that, it beeps or it alarms to let you know you've reached your target time. So if you're kind of doing time trials, trying to beat your personal best, that might be something you find handy. All right, stop, reset, and that's it. That's the stopwatch function, and then we're back to time. So that's it. That's really the functions of this watch. Just to let you know, so that stopwatch is a 24-hour timer with 1/100th second. You saw the seconds counting across this 1/100th of a second. The battery life estimated is 5 years on the single button cell battery that they have in here. Right, that's the description of the functions. Now on to just a quick show of the strap. Of course, G-Shock resin strap. This one has a little bit of a slight gloss to it. You know, it's hard for me to maybe explain, but you can see there's a slight gloss to this strap here. All right, double prong, or in this case, a double row of holes with a double prong steel buckle here, okay, with gold PVD as matches the watch. And that's the watch, you know, nice and simple. Just gonna put it on for the wrist shot to show you guys now. And there you go, the CASIO GA-710 model, in this case is GB/1A on my 17cm wrist. And yes, it is huge, it is a G-Shock, but because it's a casual, tough watch, I don't know, somehow I think you kind of get away with it on most men's wrists. You know, my wrist isn't big, 17 centimeters, and this is huge. This is 56mm, right? That lug to lug. But you know, stuffing around in casual situations, I think people don't take a second look. G-Shocks are just so ubiquitous, and I really do love my G-Shock. So, you know, what are the pros? Well, it's a G-Shock, isn't it? I mean, You know, they're just so cool. Here's a couple that I found lying around. You know, they come in so many different variations and colors, and they're tough and they're quartz. You can just pick them up and wear them. I love my G-Shock, you know, Mudmaster, Rangeman, you know, GA-110. I think I'm going to do a head-to-head between these two, because kind of they're both Anadigi basic models. So I'm going to do that comparison. Look out for that to come. That one's, of course, a Frogman. So it's just so cool, you know, the homology that they have. I love it. So, you know, all right, go away, guys. You know, I wouldn't do that to my Swiss watches, but you can do that to G-Shocks. You can probably, you know, throw them across the room and they wouldn't bat an eyelid, right? They're just designed to be tough, right? So the G-Shock features that this has, you know, the value that Casio represents in their pieces, you know, things that last many years despite being relatively cheap. The homology that I mentioned, meaning that you can jump into a G-Shock having used other G-Shocks, and you can start using it very quickly. You know, this is always a mode button. When you see that, that's always a light button. The reset button is typically that one, and that one's usually a cycle through button. That one's sometimes a cycle back or light. You know, you get the point. G-Shock or Casio in general, you can kind of go towards another model and start using it without reading the manual. That's just the lovely thing about their homology in their modules here. It does have the usual wide color choice, and as I checked yesterday, there were about 20 different models in terms of color variations in this line here. Feature packed on a budget, you know, what can you ask for? And it's got this kind of tough industrial type design. So if you like this particular look, you know, with those, you know, luggy bits here and that dial with that steel markers, you know, this may be something that you choose. Of course, there are other models that have different feel. This one has its own feel here. And light, comfortable at 70 grams despite the size, that's what you get for G-Shock. You can almost forget this on your wrist, even though it is bigger than just about any mechanical watch that I own. The things to beware of about this model, okay, it is a standard Anadigi model, right? There is nothing additional in terms of special functions. There's no atomic time, there's no GPS sync, there's no tough solar. So, you know, you're not getting those for this model. To get those models, you have to pay considerably more, you know, really more than twice the price of this one if you want those things. I will say that that negative display is not the easiest to read. It's actually quite difficult to read in poor light. So for example, if I turn it over this side, I'm going to struggle to read it at all. I have to do, you know, kind of let some light fall into it, and then you can start reading it a bit better. So just beware, negative displays can be a problem if you want to, you know, read this in low light. And that LED light is just, it's poor, you know, there's no backlight, and so you're barely able to tell the time with those analog hands using that LED light. So that's just, it's not fantastic, right? Yes, you can tell the time in the dark, but that's about it. Forget about using anything else, telling the date, whatever. You're barely able to just read the time off the hands. So guys, there we have it. That's my review of this G-Shock GA-710 model. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about me reviewing quartz Casio models. You know, I've done mechanicals, or, you know, at least kind of more traditional watches for a long time now. First time I've gone back to this in a long time. You know, let me know whether you like me doing these things. Guys, if you own a G-Shock, if you own this model, would love to hear your thoughts. So guys, if you like my videos, do consider subscribing. Put out new content every week, aiming to be objective and unbiased about all things horology. Thank you again for sticking with me, and as always guys, I'll see you next time.